If you're an NBA fan, you know about the brow.
Anthony Davis looks spectacular.
Yes.
Looks unstoppable. He looks like a top 5 player on the planet.
Anthony Davis has been known for his size, skill, and epic eyebrow since he was a teenager. But he's a lot more than the eyebrow. How much did his family and coaches do during his youth to get him where he is today? The choices he made, plus his rapid growth spurt, changed his future forever. There's so much to know about the brow, so let's dive in.
I need him to be aggressive and score.
I'm Jesse with Basketball Dive, and this is the family of Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis was born on March 11, 1993 in Chicago, Illinois. He was raised on the South Side by his parents, Anthony Davis Sr. and Erainer Davis. Both of his parents are taller than 6 feet. His father's 6'3", his mother 6'1", so there's no question where he got his height from. Kinda both parents, honestly. But neither of his parents approached the 6'10" frame that Anthony currently has. Then again, nobody was ever sure if Anthony would reach that height either. Anthony Davis Sr. has kept himself out of the public eye for most of his life, except for a few highlights during Anthony Jr.'s career. Davis Sr. is 6'3" and came to the Inglewood portion of the South Side to raise his family. Not much is really known about how Anthony Davis Sr. met his wife, but he was a carpenter. He didn't want Anthony going to the tougher parts of Chicago to play basketball, as he was always fearful of Anthony Jr. from going to local Murray Park, nicknamed Murder Park, to shoot hoops. That's where Derrick Rose made his mark as a local street player. So he built a basketball court in the family's backyard for his kids to play in. He refused to pay for Anthony to play on AAU teams while he was in the early stages of high school. He always believed that no matter where his son played, even if it was at a high school that barely anybody paid attention to, people would eventually find his son. He was of course pretty right. Anthony Sr. has made a name for himself a few times in the news in regards to his son's college recruitment and where he wanted Anthony to end up in the NBA. There were also allegations that Anthony Sr. had asked multiple schools for money in exchange for his son's commitment. $200,000 to be exact. Alright, so let me break this down for you. Before NIL rules were in place, which is name, image, and likeness, basically young athletes weren't allowed to make money off of their personal brand or image. Any payments towards this would be considered bribery. Now, in this specific case, the newspaper, the Chicago Sun-Times, actually accused the University of Kentucky of making bribery payments in this context, and only backed off once the Davis family and the university itself made legal threats. Ultimately, Davis did choose to go to the University of Kentucky, but it's never been confirmed for sure if he received payment to do so. Back then, it would have been a huge scandal, but of course today, because of NIL rules, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal. His father also had something to say about when his son was looking to move on from the New Orleans Pelicans. One team his father did not want him to be a member of was the Boston Celtics. You may be wondering, why the Celtics? I mean, they're one of the most famous franchises in all of sports. It came down to loyalty. Quote, "I would never want my son to play for Boston after what they have done to Isaiah Thomas," he told ESPN's Ramona Shelburne. "No loyalty. Guy gives his heart and soul, and they traded him." End quote. Anthony is incredibly close with his mother, Erainer, and she stands 6'1", as we said, and has been a huge influence on her son since day one. She played basketball growing up, as you might imagine. Makes sense given how tall she is. Anthony Jr. shared with Hot Living that his, quote, "whole family played basketball, and I don't want to say I was forced, but I definitely fell in line because of them and fell in love with the game from there," end quote. Erainer has instilled in Anthony a large sense of charity over the years, and she has helped him establish charities of his own. When he played for the New Orleans Pelicans, he received the NBA Cares Community Assist Award, and he thanked his family for his charitable upbringing. Anthony Jr. is definitely a mama's boy though, aren't we all? And always wants his mom to make his favorite foods anytime she visits. Erainer has highlighted her chocolate chip cookies, dirty rice, fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, and collard greens as must-haves for her son. Her son has also treated her to a new car for Mother's Day one year, getting her a Chrysler 300, even though she said she already had a car. Anthony's sister Antoinette is 5'8" tall and, like her brother, is a private person. But they grew up and went to Perspectives Charter in Chicago, which was in a nicer neighborhood than the one they grew up in. She supported Anthony's basketball career, attending almost every one of his games. Kobe Bryant said she was the more outgoing of the twins. Yes, that's right, that Kobe Bryant. When Kobe and Anthony played against one another, they would go after the game and hang out, and the family would come too. Other than that, Antoinette is a pretty private person, and not much else is known about her and her life. His older sister Aisha is 5 foot 10 inches tall. She played basketball for Daly College, so basketball definitely runs in the genes for sure, in case you were wondering. That's crazy though, man. You'd think the whole entire family was destined to be basketball players. Growing up, Aisha used to help Anthony get ready for the basketball seasons by hooping it up with him in the family backyard or heading down to St. Columbanus Gym to be a part of the scrimmages that would take place in the summer. That would help her prepare for basketball games as well as help Anthony get ready for his. She used to beat up on Anthony though, reportedly. She was better than him for a while, and he compared it to Cheryl and Reggie Miller during an interview at a WNBA game.
It was kind of like that Reggie Miller and Cheryl Miller thing, right? Where the older Cheryl used to beat on Reggie, then he became good. Like that was the same thing with me and my older sister, so.
Aisha played for the Harlem Globetrotters for a few years and only recently gave up the game to focus on other things. She's currently the owner of Classy and Divine Boutique in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. She opened up the store in March of 2020 with her partner Kiki Jones. Someone else who has been influential to Anthony's rise has been his uncle, Keith Chamberlain Sr. Anthony spent a lot of time in 9th and 10th grade working out at the St. Columbanus Gym with his uncle. Keith was the athletic director at the school and the father of Keith Jr., who was a strong player in his own right who played for the Pelicans G League team. The pickup games that got Anthony to hone his craft better, orchestrated by his uncle, saw his cousin Keith Jr., his younger brother Jarvis, Anthony, and his sister Aisha battle it out in the gym. Doing summer drills with cousins, his sister, and his uncle helped him get better and become the player he is today. Anthony did enjoy playing the game and started playing AAU games when he was in 4th grade. His coach then, Warren Mack, utilized him as a long-range shooter while he was playing center for his middle school team and all through his middle school career at Perspectives because they didn't have many players on the team. Mack gave him the nickname Butter because his three-point shots were like butter. Who would have thought that Anthony Davis we'd see today was a small kid chucking up threes back then? The Chicago Select AAU team was a dominant team and won the AAU Illinois State Championship in his 8th grade year. By that time, Anthony had used the tutelage Mack provided him, toughness, and desire. Another role model, Antoine Collins, helped bring him back and forth from St. Columbanus when his parents couldn't. Collins was a great role model and grew up on the south side and looked out for other younger kids who could make it. Back then, he was frequently seen as a small kid who just loved to shoot three-pointers, especially in junior high school. He had a particular interest in shooting from the corner of the basket. Anthony remembers fondly being brought to and from by Collins to play basketball against all kinds of players.
Like 10, 11 years old, and one of my closest friends, was taking me to this basketball gym, and I'll be playing with like grown men.
With the help of Collins, Chamberlain, his parents, his sisters, and his cousins, Anthony was heading into the higher grades of high school as someone who was starting to be mentioned with the best players in the country. Anthony's parents enrolled him at Perspectives Charter School, which was a 7-mile ride from their house. Chicago has a rich history of basketball players and pickup games. Isaiah Thomas, Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, Mark Aguirre, Tim Hardaway, and Antoine Walker all hail from the Windy City and grew up playing basketball in the blacktopped courts of the different parks and driveways and in gyms in Chicago. But the South Side is a bit different than the North Side, and it's a harder area to grow up in. Anthony Davis, like we said, grew up in the Englewood area of Chicago, which is the same neighborhood that Derrick Rose grew up in. It's known for its street violence and its propensity for gang-related deaths. Enrolling at Perspectives Charter when he was in 6th grade provided the family security. It's a safe place to learn and go to school, reportedly. Quote, "Kids don't necessarily have to watch their back every 5 minutes walking down the street," said Teray Johnson, the athletic director for Perspectives Charter Schools, which has 5 campuses. "They feel safe. It feels like a safer environment." End quote. Hale was his coach at Perspectives Charter, and the team could barely field teams or find a gym to practice in. Thanks to Anthony's growth spurt between freshman and junior year that saw him grow from 6 foot even to 6'8", Hale realized that the team needed to play through him more. Hale took over Anthony's junior year and had been an assistant coach who knew Anthony was capable of carrying a bigger load in high school. Perspectives played in a lower league compared to other higher-rated Chicago school leagues. They didn't get many recruiters visiting. Anthony remained at Perspectives when he was the #1 prospect in the country, which helped him get selected to the McDonald's All-American game. Anthony committed to John Calipari, the head coach at the University of Kentucky. John is known as someone who can help players get to the NBA, which is what most players who go to play for him want. Calipari is known as a great recruiter and builds a staff to help harness the best out of the talent that they have. During Anthony's lone season in Lexington, Kentucky, the entire starting five for his Kentucky team ended up going to the pros. The entire five. Well, that's because Anthony and his teammates won the national title and he won the John Wooden Award as the best player in the country. Going to Kentucky showed everyone what kind of player Anthony could be in the NBA. The crazy thing about Anthony Davis's personal life is that once he became more famous, he became more private. Not many details are well known about how he and his wife Marlon P got together. People know they started dating sometime in 2016 when Anthony was playing for the New Orleans Pelicans, but they didn't make their red carpet debut as a couple until 2020. That's 4 years later. Imagine not telling people about your boyfriend or girlfriend for 4 years. By that point, Anthony was on the Lakers, so it made sense for them to make their debut at the Vanity Fair party after the Oscars in Hollywood. Marlon is of Dominican descent, and the couple have a daughter and 2 sons together. Their daughter, Nala, was born in 2017. People think his first son was born in 2021 before him and Marlon tied the knot. His second son was born in 2022. He and Marlon had a wild wedding, reportedly, that was packed full of celebrities. They were married on September 18, 2021 at the Beverly Hills Hotel in Los Angeles. LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, and Adele were just some of the people who showed up at their wedding. Other than that, though, there is not much known about Anthony's family life as of now. He lives his life mostly on the court and rarely shows up in public off of it. He does play on the FaZe Clan's Nuke Squad for Call of Duty, though.
So Anthony Davis wasn't the only kid from Chicago taken #1 overall in the NBA draft. Another recent-ish example is Derrick Rose. They actually grew up in the exact same area. But Derrick Rose had a way different upbringing, and for more on him and his family, watch this video showing right now.